leadership. In today's video, we want to share with you some of our tips and approaches on how to train and then be able to build trust and then be able to delegate to your team remotely. We know we're all having to work away from each other using Zoom, Skype, all the other methods that are out there. And as we're doing training seminars on time management, one of the biggest obstacles we come across from the people that are attending our classes is their ability to be able to delegate, but they haven't been able to do the pre-work in order to delegate. So they're reticent to delegate because they haven't done the training to delegate, so they don't have the trust to be able to delegate. And so it's one of these dilemmas, these obstacles that we can give you some really good tips on how to overcome that so that you can then take the time, put the effort into being able to expand your ability to get more work done through others. So, Danny, you and I have, gosh, I guess we've trained hundreds of managers over the past few years on time management. You know what a big topic this is in an obstacle for time management is not being able to delegate. What are some of your key tips or ideas to help somebody get their mind wrapped around the proper approach, especially when you're doing it remotely, on how to start the process of training someone so they can feel comfortable to delegate their workload?
Yeah, Vaughn, I think first and foremost, I think this is much more common with younger or less experienced managers because they're used to being individual contributors and tackling most of whatever's assigned to them themselves. So we certainly find them having a little bit more trouble loosening their grip on their responsibilities. And so part of it is recognizing that they're limiting their own career and they're limiting their own effectiveness by holding on to things so tightly. And then, as you said, I think we're seeing even more hesitation right now because people can't look over the cubicle wall or out their office door and see people getting stuff done. And so especially for the people who have a tendency to micromanage, delegating is becoming really tough in a virtual world. So I think the key then just becomes, at least for starters, is defining really, really clearly, extra clearly from what you normally would in a co-located environment, of what the expectations really are and what has to get done, and then laying out what the steps are to do it and showing someone what those steps are. But the other thing that I think I've really encouraged a lot of people recently is we may need to adjust people's roles for the time being and lean on certain strengths differently. There are some people that don't work as effectively in the virtual environment at certain tasks, but they might be quite a bit better at others. And so we also might have to adjust. And so I see a lot of hesitation about just the general workload. And I've been telling managers, maybe if you're going to delegate item A, you may actually want to take off item C if you think you're better at that. And so there may actually be a bit of a bartering going on as well. But the fundamental thing is making things a little bit extra clear in this environment.
Well, and so what I heard from you is it takes a fair amount of planning and preparation. You just can't launch into it. You got to think about who it is, what it is, when you're going to do it, how long how much time you can dedicate to doing it. Am I picking up on all that?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. And then, Tony, I know you are exceptionally good at the training aspect, helping develop people through delegating workload. What are some of the key things that you've seen work to help people out there who are trying to get more done through others?
Well, the first thing that has to happen, regardless of whether it's remotely or you have a whole group in the same office, is you have to be committed to it. You have to really understand and feel how the importance of it. Because if you don't have that commitment level, you're not going to create the time and bandwidth necessary to train people to do some of the additional tasks. And Danny mentioned the fact that it is true. People are very reluctant to let go, and they have this whole mantra of when something's done, you got to do it yourself, which is really the kiss of death in any organization, especially if you're growing. So once you have the clear mindset that this is important, then it just becomes one of blocking out that time to when you're going to do it. You have to be very strategic with how you do it. You can't just say, yeah, I'm going to teach you guys, and then you're going to get your workload. And by the end of the day, you're like, oh crap, I didn't train anybody again on how to do this stuff. I just ended up doing it myself. So I think it's important to utilize those tools of time management with regard to blocking out specific time, making it one of your important and platinum activities of the day to train an individual to be able to handle the responsibilities that you have and that need to be delegated.
Yeah.
Once you do that, then you have to start trusting people to do it. And Danny made a great point of setting those clear expectations of what you want from them. And then it's just a question of trusting them to do it and following up on them, and not, over micromanaging them, etc.
Well, and you got to understand that they're not going to do it probably exactly the way you do it. But if understanding what good looks like, and however they reach that path, it doesn't really matter. Did the job get done properly? But we all have to be on the same page, what good looks like, what completed looks like. So it's setting the right expectations. And I think a lot of people get hung up, get wrapped around the axle of training because they're not doing it specifically the way I would do it. And that's going to hold you back. So, I heard a couple really good points out of you. My favorite of which is you got to time block it, because the opportunity, your time will not just appear to be able to set time aside to go get this done. And it's one of those activities that's going to get pushed down the list, blocked out by other things, busy work or firefighting or day-to-day activities, if you don't schedule it like the doctor's appointment. Sure. And so it's super valuable. It's honestly the only way you can get it done is set the time aside, schedule it, and get it done. And the thing that I like to share with folks is, one, what you said, make the time. Two, what Danny said, make the expectations very clear. And then you've got, I call it the step back method. You got to give them a little bit and then step back, let them do it. They've got to get that kinesthetic knowledge, that experience, learning by doing. Give them a little bit more, step back, let them do it, give them a little correction along the way, give them a little bit more. And as you see them progressing, your internal trust of their ability to do this is going to rise. Their confidence to do it is going to rise. And that is all critical to making the development of your team a success. And you think about it from a time management standpoint, it's a win-win-win. Every time you get somebody prepared to perform a task, a duty, a responsibility that previously was solely yours or mostly yours, one, you don't have to do it anymore. In time, you're not going to have to do it again. Two, you're developing somebody else as a succession plan. Three, that person is going to be much more engaged with you as their leader, your company, because they're learning and growing. It's one of the most key elements of engagement and retention of people is, am I being developed? Is somebody interested in my progress within this organization? So there is no downside to any of this. What it does take is some patience and trust, and that takes a little bit of time. So
if I could just jump in too, Vaughn, right now, I mean, let's face it, a lot of the things that we're potentially going to delegate right now in this world of virtual work is something on the computer or something on the phone. And so, I mean, one of the most fundamental things you can do is jump on a Zoom or a Skype or whatever and do a screen share and just show them how you do it, and then offer them the opportunity to do it themselves. Or if it's a phone call, make it a conference call and just listen to how I talk to the client, listen to what I say, listen to how I answer certain types of questions. And you're going to do the work anyway. Now you're just developing someone at the same time. So you're really not spending a lot more time.
Well, and to that point, there's 4 tenets of teaching. Tell them what you want them to do, show them what you want them to do, have them do it, and then give them feedback.
Yep.
right? That's the foundational elements of effective training and developing of any team. You've been taught your entire life. And I really truly believe with the advent, the inclusion of the virtual world that we've moved into very suddenly, it's the greatest thing ever. You know, I trained a guy for about 30 minutes yesterday on how to upload his MailChimp, how to build a mailing list properly so it can go into MailChimp. Had him do it all on the screen with me. We shared screens. I'm telling you, had we been in an office doing this, I would have been in control of the mouse. He would have been saying, yeah, 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 and walking away from it, not knowing a thing more than he started with. But the fact that you can now turn the control over to somebody, you can watch them do it, is a huge advantage in this world that we're working in now. Agreed, Tony?
Yeah, and the only thing I would add to the 4 steps would be 4A, which would be the importance of the collaborative feedback process. Once you showed them how to do it, and once you demonstrated it, and to your point, you had them do it back for you, and that's just critical in the remote world, where you tend to have to over communicate because you don't have the benefit of being in front of somebody. So, you know, allow them to give you feedback on what it is that they're learning, so that, you know, if there's any adjustments that need to be made, that you can make them at that time. And I think people are going to be, you know, well served.
Well, one of the other things I always used to do was I would say, I'm going to show you how I do this. I want you to do it my way first. And here's what the end result looks like. Here's what success looks like at the end of the day. After you've done it my way and you've shown that you can produce the correct result, if you come back and tell me you found a better way to do it that gets that same result, I'll be all about it. And usually when it came to something on the computer, someone could figure out a better way than my way to do that. So.
Yeah, and what's the harm of that, right? Again, we all win. So on that fabulous note, let's wrap this video up. We appreciate everybody watching. We'll get some more of these videos out to you soon. Thanks from Results Driven Leadership.
Thank you.